welcome to the Science Faction Podcast, where science meets fact meets fiction.
This is Science Faction for the week of March 31st, 2025. I'm one of your hosts, Stephen Dominguez, and with me today, two individuals celebrating the last day of March.
What's up? Benjamin Daniel Lawless.
Yeah. Devin Kraft.
How do you celebrate the 31st of March, Devin?
What?
How do you celebrate the 31st of March?
We had a meeting with our financial advisor.
Oh,
Dude.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
I had a meeting with a client on like the worst case ever today.
Cool.
Cool.
And my 4-year-old got into a school that you have to audition for because it's like a performing arts school.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
It's called Caldwell Academy. It's like a normal school, like they teach you all the subjects, but it has an emphasis on performing arts. I think all arts, like they also do like, drawing and painting and stuff. Mm-hmm. We had both of our sons audition for it, and they actually said they weren't going to tell us whether people got in until April 1st, but we got a letter for our 4-year-old today saying he got in, but we haven't gotten anything for Nolan, our 7-year-old.
Wow.
Uh-oh.
No,
I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah. Well, the way I've been doing it is I was thinking that this morning I would, as I'm encouraging the kids to come to school, I'll go like, hey, happy April 1st. And they're like, it's not April 1st. I'm like, April Fools.
How many eye rolls did you get?
I didn't do it. I just thought about it.
Oh, you just thought about doing it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Just thought about it. That wasn't an actual thing I kind of chuckled to myself about this morning, but
Wow.
there was enough going on. Like it was rainy and just vibes were off. So, but that would be how I would celebrate the last day of March, is to tell everybody it's the 1st of April.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. You're welcome. That now lives rent free in everybody's head.
Well, it's going to have to start paying because that's ridiculous. So we were able to, all three of us.
I was barely there.
We were all present and accounted for the second part of our City of Mist one shot that our buddy Greg is running for us, which we did yesterday on Sunday, so that today, Monday, now we are recording. We changed our entire schedule for this City of Mist thing, and I think it was worth it because I had a lot of fun. What a different game system that is.
I guess so. You keep saying that, and I forgive me. I know I don't play a lot of D&D. You guys
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
So what's kind of interesting is yesterday I also played some D&D with my two kids. There's a free starter adventure. It's a PDF you can download from, I don't know, dnd.org. I don't know what it is, whatever the website is for D&D. Called Peril in Pinebrook, I believe. And it is it comes with pre-generated characters with like really minimalized character sheets. And it's a little thing where you're like, oh, you're on patrol in the nearby forest, and then a little baby dragon falls out of a bush, and they're like, hey, why don't you take this dragon back up into that mountain where the dragons maybe are? And so then you're set on a little mission to go into this dungeon with a dragon.
Nice.
So yeah, which is pretty cool because typically when you play D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, there are not really a lot of dungeons and or dragons present. So this one like gets right to the point of all that, and it's also broken up into sections where it's like this encounter. This encounter should be 10 minutes. This encounter should be 15 minutes. And there's I think there's 5 of them total, and most of them are 15 minutes. Some of the combats at the end or most of them are 10 minutes. The combats at the end I think are 15 minutes. But it really gives you kind of a goal for this is about how long this should take. And if it's taking longer, move it along or whatever. Or if it's too short, well, maybe you're missing something. So in a more typical traditional D&D style role-playing game, you have a character sheet with a lot of stats on it. This is how strong I am. This is how fast I am. This is how smart I am. All those kinds of things. This is my hit points. There's lots of numbers involved. And then you have your skills, which you have bonuses to things. That's more numbers. And so when you go to roll something, you'll roll typically a D20. Depending on what you're trying to do, you'll add or subtract numbers to whatever you rolled, and you're trying to meet or beat another number, a DC, difficulty check. And so, I'm gonna smash down this door. Okay, well that's a DC of 15. You roll your D20, which can get anywhere between 1 and the number 20. Maybe your athletics is +5. And so whatever you roll and you add 5 to it, is that more or less than that 15? If it's more, you succeed. If it's less, you fail. So a lot of these RPGs are very number driven when it comes down to decisions. I'm going to try to do this. Roll, do math. Did I do it or not? With City of Mist, it's more like we're all narrating a scene together. And it's okay, the guy's attacking. How are you going to defend yourself? And then your character doesn't have stats, but they have tags. You have these little descriptions for what your character can do. And you can say, well, I'm going to defend myself, and I'm really, what's my guy Job? He's careless, and there was a couple tags that are good for combat stuff. So you click on those 2 tags, you make your one roll, and those tags will just add to it. It's still a does it happen or not, but in a vastly different way. You're not looking at strength or dexterity or how hard can I punch. It's more how can I describe the scene and use these tags that are associated with my character to then improve my
my chances
at
getting
of this happening of this actually happening. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that is to somebody who plays a lot of the more traditional, let's roll dice, let's count numbers, which is fun. That's a great fun system. That's why it's been around since the 70s, and it's still popular. But to kind of stop thinking in those terms and think more in I'm actually directing a movie, or I'm directing a scene. Not am I strong enough, but can I do this cool thing because my character can do cool things. It's just a different way of thinking about it, and it takes a lot of the crunch away. Because just a very small aside, there are some D&D players who only look at the numbers. And that's where they find their fun. And that's totally cool. But they will try to okay, if I get this skill, and if I get this other number up this high, and if I do this, and if I do that, then when I make this certain kind of roll, I get to add these 5 different things together, and I can super do that thing. You're manipulating the numbers how you want to, and that's great. And other people will play D&D this is my character concept. I'm this kind of character, and I'm just going to role play this character as doing it, and then whatever the stats are what the stats are. So there's the D&D.
How do you like to play it?
I like to play it the second way. In fact, there's a D&D game that I'm part of right now that Greg is the DM for, where my character, I'm a orc paladin, and very, very devoted to my god, but I have a very low intelligence stat, but I have high charisma. So he's real friendly, can talk to people, can convince people things, but he's not the sharpest tool in the shed. So there was this combat that we were in, and it was in this room, and there was this arch in the middle of the room. The other guys we were playing with were all like, oh, I go around that arch. And when it came to my character's turn, the last remaining bad guy was on the other side of the arch. And so I was like, okay, everyone's not going through this arch because there's probably some D&D thing with arches that I'm not aware of. I haven't played a ton of D&D either, but I was just kind of like, okay, this arch is significant in some sense. So I asked Greg, the DM, hey, would my character know anything about arches or be afraid of arches or, anything? He was just like, no, it just looks like an arch to you. I was like, great. I run directly through the arch towards the enemy, and from a player's point of view, I knew something negative was going to happen. Yeah. From a character point of view, I'm going to go through this directly towards the next enemy to defeat, because that's my job right now. And so he runs through this arch and immediately falls to the ground asleep. just falls down dead asleep. And that ended my turn. It was a great character moment though, right? If you're playing the numbers game with D&D, you was like, okay, this is a bad thing. I need to go around this thing so that I can get my better hits and roll my better dice. Great. But for me, the fun is doing what this character would do. Trying to figure out what this dummy would do. And that's what the dummy would do, and that's what the dummy did. And it was a great moment that we all had a lot of fun with. So it seems to me that City of Mist might have more of those kinds of moments in it instead of the let's figure out what numbers we can tweak around and add to get to a better result. More, how can I narrate this into a better result? Which, that those are very different play styles. Like City of Mist, not for everyone. I'm having a blast with it though. Are you guys having fun with it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Enjoy it.
Yeah. It's good. It's difficult right now, having a lot of energy in the evenings. That's been a real challenge. And so, I'm holding on, you guys. I'm just, and I know that Devin, I suspect that Devin has a similar, a similar struggle too.
Yeah.
We're not spring chickens anymore, you guys.
We're not. We can't stay up all night doing these things anymore.
It's the autumn of the chickenhood.
Oh man, speaking of chickens, we're down a chicken now. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the neighbor's dog got after one of our chickens, and so now we have two. That's like a whole nother story. It happens. The dog is like the sweetest dog. She's like super chill. Before like the girls have pet her all, and she'll just sit down very nicely, very polite. And it was just, I've been letting the chickens kind of roam through our yard recently to just, let them get exercise and do chicken stuff. And we haven't had any problems yet. And so I went to go pick up the girls from school, came home. And as we came home down in our little orchard area, I saw the neighbor's dog down there doing something to a little black mass on the ground. And I was like, uh-oh. And as we pulled closer, I was like, oh, that's a chicken. And the neighbor was really nice. He came out and was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. We were doing yard work in the front. I wasn't keeping an eye on her. I should, and ended up like bringing us a little I'm sorry basket full of Easter candy stuff for the kids. He's like, oh, I know the kids.
Like Kentucky Fried Chicken or something?
Yeah. He brought over a bucket of chicken and was like, no.
Jeez.
No, it was super, super remorseful about the whole thing and offered to pay for the chicken. I was like, don't worry about it. I was like, I know your dog's super cool. Instincts kick in. I get it. These chickens are dumb. The chicken probably just stood there and let the dog just chomp on it and just was like, oh, I guess I'm dead now. The chickens are dumb, you guys. They're super dumb. So anyways, speaking of chickens, that's what happened with my chickens.
I'm sorry, man.
Hey, thank you, but it happens. All right. Ben, tell me something.
I've been traveling, you guys. So that means, I listened to a podcast.
Oh man, what podcast? Nope. Not often.
And I'd like to recommend this new podcast that just started called It's Story Time with Will Wheaton. And the basic idea here is that the LeVar Burton helmed story podcast has concluded. And so Will Wheaton was like, there's no other podcast like what LeVar has done with his work over the last several years. So he actually asked LeVar, and he's like, can I do a show that's inspired by you? And, and LeVar Burton was like, of course, go for it.
He was like, shut up, Wesley.
Yeah, probably.
Oh. No, LeVar Burton's so cool. He's one of the good ones.
Right.
Anyways.
So the first episode of the podcast of It's Storytime with Will Wheaton is a reading of a speculative fiction piece called Rock, Paper, Scissors, Love, Death by Carolyn M. Joachim. And that story was so good. It is a bona fide time travel love story that, like, if you hear about people that would move heaven and earth for the ones they love. Well, what if you could move time? And yeah, it's super good. It was published in Lightspeed magazine back in November 2015. And it's really awesome that it's getting another lease on life through this podcast.
Is this something that we could read on our podcast?
I imagine so. Well, you mean like and do a review of?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whether we are going to perform a piece, I know that Will Wheaton's he's got a team of people that manage like getting the appropriate rights for reading stuff, which has not been the way that we do things.
Well, no. I mean, okay. But, so I'm looking at this short story. This is a short story. We could do this.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. This is fine.
Okay. And so,
right.
For Devin, who would prefer probably not to read it, would rather prefer to listen to it. He could listen to the podcast.
Hey,
Will Wheaton's
synergy.
Podcast.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right.
So, yeah.
There's also the short stories I texted you guys from the guy that wrote the story that Arrival's based on.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
I went on.
Not that we need to do that right away. That's just something we can consider for later. So seems like we have a few things we can choose from now. So, I know last week we're kind of trying to think of something.
Yeah, that was a good call too. I didn't realize that Audacity had free stuff like that. So, not Audacity,
Audible.
sorry, Audible. Yeah, so I immediately went on there and downloaded those. So I've added them to my library, I should say. So cool.
I'll have to do the same.
Yeah.
But did you say you didn't know Audible had free stuff?
No, I didn't realize it. I just go on there when I'm looking specifically for something.
Yeah, they have, because it's like a membership thing, so some things are included in the membership. Yeah, and I found like quite a few things that are included. A lot of the great courses are included on there.
Oh, right. Okay.
So which are awesome. I think I talked about a few of those I listened to throughout the years, but they're not always included. It's kind of one of those things, kind of like Netflix or something, where one day it's included and the next day you go back and it's like, you need to use a credit. Like, dang it, the license they had ran out, so now you have to pay for it.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, that's a good tip. That's a good hint and tip. What else we got before we move on to future or now?
Are you guys watching Win or Lose on Disney Plus?
Is that a game show?
It's a Pixar show.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a TV series. It's about it's a series of kind of anthology stories that are all centered around the events leading up to a championship baseball game for middle schoolers.
Oh, you just got Devin's attention. Baseball game. What?
Yeah. So the series follows the Pickles, which is a co-ed middle school softball team, and the events leading up to their championship game. And each of the 8 episodes gives a different perspective of the same story. So like all the players and staff have internal battles to face and drama with the team. And, supposedly it all comes to a head at the end. I'm 6 episodes out of 8 into it. And it is tremendously engaging and fantastical, but also tremendously grounded. Like, think of the emotional, like, I'm not saying it's the same emotions, but think of some of the emotional strengths that you've seen Pixar do, such as the opening 5 minutes of Up, or
the
or
most
Inside
devastating story ever told. Yeah.
This gets close to being very devastating at several points.
Good.
it's it's a bit authentic because many of the children are played by child actors. It has Rosa Salazar in it as one of the as a single mom that that is completely and utterly social media addicted.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah. And so but all of the characters, they're you get to get in each episode a view into that character's particular anxieties. So like the first episode, there's this the daughter of the coach on the team. She's not a good baseball player at all, and she desperately wants to be. But her anxiety shows up as like this slime creature that just kind of like hangs out on her shoulders and like weighs her down constantly and grows as her anxiety grows. And like tells her things like, oh, hey, you can do this. It's totally fine, except you really can't. But we're just going to try. And it's really good. But it's also like emotionally devastating semi-regularly for like a middle school and parent. And like there's an episode about the umpire who he's heartbroken by an ex-girlfriend and a relationship that kind of dissolved. So he finally decides to go on to the world of online dating. And
okay.
Yeah.
Wait, okay. So this is a show from Pixar.
Yes.
On Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Who is it for? Is it a kids show or is this a adults show? Because it kind of sounds like it could be a show for adults.
I feel like it's one of those things where if you have a kid or anybody that is capable of having empathy for other human beings, there are points here where it's a little slower because of the subject matter. And I would say that like a 6-year-old might not stick around with it, but it is a comedy. It's a dramedy, really. Like there are so many very funny and weird things that happen throughout it, but it's like, I think maybe the issue, or not the issues, but like how hard it hits may meet you where you're at. If you get my drift.
Okay. I think I know.
Yeah. There's the episode that follows the single mom, and she finds out that her daughter is not just the head of a cheating, like an empire of cheating, like at her school, which there's reasons why that's happening.
Wait,
but she's also
of cheating on
like
tests?
Yeah. So she's selling her services to help people cheat on tests.
Okay. Got it.
At the school. And so the mom finds out about it, and then also finds out that she's going to like a high schooler's party. And so she basically like shows up at the party, and like there's a bunch of crazy stuff happening, like, kids covering other kids with silly string and all that sort of stuff. And as a parent, I'm looking at it and going, oh my gosh, this is a whole bunch of like chaos, and this is a little bit anxiety inducing. But my son, as he's watching, he's like, yeah, that's the party I want to go to. That looks like fun. Right. So we all bring our own little experiences to it. But I think that's kind of the, like, Flint's loving it, I'm loving it, and terrified of it.
How long are the episodes?
They're 22 minutes long.
Oh, okay. Standard.
Yeah.
Pretty standard.
Yeah.
Okay.
And but highly recommended. Try the first episode, see if it works, but then also recognize that every episode, because it's an anthology show that follows a different character going through this like 2-week period, it's every episode has its own flavor to it.
All right, cool. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Win or lose on Disney Plus.
And it wins.
Okay. Easy.
Yeah.
All All right, it is now that time of the episode where I go, this is a podcast about science and science fiction. Let's do some of the sciencey stuff. So we're on to future or now.
Now.
I'm going to go first because you guys did a blunder and you guys got to go together. So I'm going to call this one Like Brains, but better.
Oh.
So this comes from Science Daily. It was published on March 26th of this year. And the title is Artificial Intelligence Uses Less Energy by Mimicking the Human Brain. So, electrical and computer engineers have developed a Super-Turing AI, which operates more like the human brain. This new AI integrates certain processes instead of separating them and then migrating huge amounts of data like current systems do. It's not a super long article, but there are some bits that are kind of in depth. The big thing to take away here is the sort of, I want to put quotes around this, energy crisis in AI. So in today's AI systems, including large language models such as OpenAI and ChatGPT, they require immense computing power and are housed in expansive data centers that consume vast amounts of electricity. These data centers are consuming power in gigawatts, whereas our brain consumes 20 watts. Says Dr. Suin Yi, assistant professor of electrical and computer engineering at Texas A&M's College of Engineering. That's 1 billion watts compared to just 20. Data centers that are consuming this energy are not sustainable with current computing methods. So while AI's abilities are remarkable, the hardware and power generation needed to sustain it is still needed.
It's always been my understanding that it's not just like the power consumption, but it's also the amount of water needed to cool the systems as well, which is a finite resource, a bit.
Yeah, and also to pump that water around, you're going to need more electricity, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So let's see. The substantial energy demands not only escalate operational costs, but also raise environmental concerns, given the carbon footprint associated with large-scale data centers. As AI becomes more integrated, addressing its sustainability becomes increasingly critical. And I think something to point out here that's kind of interesting is that it says it's not sustainable with current computing methods. So, I mean, essentially all we're doing now is hot gluing a bunch of computers together into one big computer, right? Like, that's such a reductionist way to think about it. But that's kind of what's happening, right? There's these big data centers, just huge buildings with just computers in them wired together doing math. And that's where these actual, LLM, AI, big quotes, AI stuff happens is, whenever you're asking it a question, be it on your home computer, on your phone, whatever, it sends the query out to that big machine. That machine does what it needs to do and spits back the answer.
That's funny. Today, I was using ChatGPT, and it was a lot slower than normal. And I didn't know. I'm like, I don't think that's on my end though, because everything else I'm doing is running like normal. But I would put something into ChatGPT, and it would take like a good 10 seconds before it gave me any kind of response.
Well, yep, that's exactly what it is. They can be overloaded. They could have shut down some of them to replace some wiring. Like, they're not going to say like, oh, we're taking 20% of our computation offline for, 5 hours. They just do it. And so you just get a little slower. You were probably put in a queue to wait for your turn to do the computations. So the main part of this article is actually talking about, well, let's not do it that way. Let's do it a different way. So Yi and team believe the key to solving this problem lies in nature, specifically the human brain's neural processes. In the brain, the functions of learning and memory are not separated, they are integrated. Learning and memory rely on connections between neurons called synapses, where signals are transmitted. Learning strengthens or weakens synaptic connections through a process called synaptic plasticity, forming new circuits and altering existing ones to store and retrieve information. By contrast, in current computing systems, training, how AI is taught, and memory, data storage, happen in two separate places within the computer hardware. Super-Turing AI is revolutionary because it bridges this efficiency gap, so the computer doesn't have to migrate enormous amounts of data from one part of its hardware to another. So imagine if you had two separate brains, one that learned stuff and one remembering what you just learned. Like that's how our AI is being run right now. So this is going to be different. Let's see. Hebbian. What's Hebbian? Let's see. What we did in that paper is troubleshoot the biological implausibility present in prevailing machine learning algorithms. He said, our team explores mechanisms like Hebbian learning and spike timing dependent plasticity processes that help neurons strengthen connections in a way that mimics how real brains learn. Hebbian learning principles are often summarized as cells that fire together, wire together. This approach aligns more closely with how neurons in the brain strengthen their connections based on activity patterns. By integrating such biological-inspired mechanisms, the team aims to develop AI systems that require less computational power without compromising performance. In a test, a circuit using these components helped a drone navigate a complex environment without prior training, learning and adapting on the fly. This approach was faster, more efficient, and used less energy than traditional AI.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it goes on to talk about why this matters and talk about sustainable AI development. It's interesting stuff. But I mean, the main thing here is that the main takeaway I take is that AI is not going away, right? All we're doing right now is figuring out how to scale it up. And it's a useful tool used in a lot of different ways. I use it every time I work on this podcast. If anyone's reading our notes, our show notes, or looking at images, that's all AI generated pretty much, with help, of course. AI is a tool. To figure out a better, more efficient way of doing it is better for all of us. If it works faster, uses less energy, yes, please. So pretty cool.
I think it's interesting that they're kind of using some plasticity, like neuroplasticity, in this way. I recently came across an interview with Dr. James Doty, who is a neurosurgeon, that about like the woo-woo feeling of manifestation of what it is that you want actually has kind of a scientific basis when you consider the plasticity that we have. That like if you think about something enough, you become you kind of invite it into your life by opening up to it. Not necessarily saying that we're all going to get new sports cars or whatever when we want them, but like the idea of like choosing the appropriate goals and using neuroplasticity in order to help you meet them was kind of a fascinating one. I'll have a link in the show notes for it.
All right, that sounds really interesting. Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
All right, guys, tell me about Mars, because you guys picked the same subject, different articles, but the same subject. So figure it out, guys.
Yeah.
You go for it.
Okay, so this I found it on Ars Technica from Derek Ward Thompson and Megan Arco from via The Conversation on March 30th, 2025. NASA's Curiosity rover has found the longest chain carbon molecules yet on Mars, which this is so big. It's such a significant finding in terms of the search for evidence of past life on Mars. Because on Earth, at least relatively complex long-chain carbon molecules are involved in biology. These molecules that they found could be fragments of fatty acids, which are found in, for example, the membranes surrounding biological cells.
Ooh.
So if life ever emerged on Mars, it was probably microbial in nature. And because microbes are so small, it's kind of difficult to be definitive about any potential evidence for life found on Mars. So, while we're finding some evidence here, in order to get like real concrete evidence, we're still going to need more powerful scientific instruments that are just too large to be put on a rover.
Yeah, we need to bring the samples from Mars to Earth to be able to do the studies in our labs here, which there are plans for a retrieval type system, but the budget's in question. So who knows when we'll actually be able to do that.
True. Yeah. Well, and this is kind of an exciting time for the search for life on Mars, because in March of this year, scientists presented evidence of features in a different rock sampled elsewhere on Mars by the Perseverance rover. And these features that were called leopard spots or poppy seeds could have been produced by the action of microbial life in the distant past, or maybe not. But the findings were presented at a conference and have not yet been published in a peer-reviewed journal. So, yeah. Here's hoping that the rock that they found, which they dubbed Cumberland, they found it in a region of Gale Crater called Yellowknife Bay, and this area contains rock formations that look suspiciously like those formed when sediment builds up at the bottom of a lake.
Oh.
So, one of Curiosity's scientific goals is to examine the prospect that past conditions on Mars could have been suitable for the development of life. So, why not an ancient lake bed?
Yeah, these come from samples that would be 3.7 billion years old. So if this was life, it would be life from then. So it wouldn't be anything that happened in the recent history of Mars, which is understandable because we think that if Mars was able to sustain any kind of life, it was probably in the past, nothing recent. Unless we drill deep down into the Mars soil and find the possibility of, environment that could sustain some sort of life. But anyway, this life, if it existed, was billions of years old.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we hear sometimes like that either life on Mars could have seeded life on Earth or vice versa via asteroid impact or something. But this kind of takes that out of the running, because if these things were from billions of years ago, that probably wasn't the case.
No, I mean, that's around the same time.
Oh, so you think maybe it's evidence?
I mean,
for?
It could have still had a single origin. I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, what we were saying at the last, I have to go back and look at my notes, but I was saying that Luca was from like 3 billion years ago.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And this would be like something even maybe, we don't know what this would be from, but there could be life. Obviously, Luca was not the first life. It was the first, the universal common ancestor, but there was something before it, which could be this. And we don't know if it came from like Earth could have seeded Mars could have seeded Earth, or maybe something in between, like on an asteroid, the right elements came together and then got seeded to Earth and Mars. But we'd have to have some kind of life form we could actually do some genetic analysis, if it used genes, to compare to Earth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But also, like you said, this doesn't necessarily mean it was life. It's a good indicator, but there are natural ways it could happen. None of the articles I found really got into details about what natural processes could do this, but they do. All of them make sure to say that this is not definitive.
Right. Yeah. So like these could be derived through geological or other chemical mechanisms that don't involve fatty acids or life, such as what we would call abiotic sources. But the fact that they exist intact today in samples that have been exposed to a harsh environment for many millions of years, there's potential hope here that evidence of ancient life might still be detectable today. Now, this sample from Cumberland, it doubles the number of carbon atoms found in a single molecule on Mars. So that's also pretty cool too.
From 1 to 2, or from 1,000 to 2,000?
Up to 12, so 6 to 12.
Yeah,
6 to
12. Yeah, 6 to 12.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. It's the carbon chain, and but who knows? I mean, more on this develops as long as we get a budget.
So donate today to NASA's Patreon, patreon.com/NASA. No.
Maybe.
Maybe. Who knows? Oh, boy. Okay. Was there anything else about this discovery you guys want to talk about?
None for me, thanks.
Yeah, no, I think that covers it.
Excellent. All right. Well,
what a nice and cooperative article you and I brought here today.
Yeah.
Devin, not bad.
good job, friends.
Mhm.
Okay. We are going to take ourselves a little break. When we come back, we're going to do our book club, or rather our comic book club, because this week we're reading comics, kind of. We've got links in our show notes. You can check out The Giving Man Scour and a YouTube video, all by Scott Bass. Was it the Bad Space? What's it called?
Bad Space.
Yeah.
Badspace.com. Yeah.
Yes, badspacecomics.com. So check out those links.
Badspacecomics.com, yeah.
Yep. Check out the links in the show notes and read those. It'll take you 5 minutes, and they are haunting. And we're going to talk about that. So we'll be right back.
Like it or not, federal funding for schools is shrinking, making education a local issue. That means your help is so necessary right now. I'm Benjamin Daniel Ellis, and your local Parent-Teacher-Student Association needs your support. That's the PTA, PTSA, PTO, whatever they call it. A donation of time or money goes a long way. Help organize an event, call potential sponsors, or see if your employer offers donation matching. Every bit helps local students thrive. No affiliation here. I just thought it'd be cool of you. Thanks, and back to the show.
And we're back.
Heyo.
Hello.
Hey.
And a big thank you to our patrons, Renee and Josh. If anybody's interested, we do all the things. They're on Patreon.
Yep.
And patreon.com/sciencefactionpodcast.
For sure. This week we've got book club.
Yeah.
So
3 stories by Scott Bass.
Scott Bass,
from Bad Space.
badspacecomics.com. Links in the show notes. All right, let's see.
I think it's kind of important right here off the bat, like to take a look at the about page for Bad Space, because here's what he wrote, and I think this can kind of help to give the milieu of his work. He says, "Are you sick of empty spectacles and endless sequels? I am. That's why I created Bad Space. I love science fiction, but Hollywood has stagnated in a 70s time warp where the same old ideas are recycled endlessly, never aiming for more than politically cowardly, scientifically illiterate bubblegum. Meanwhile, science has moved on, and so has the world. Late-stage capitalism, fascism, and climate collapse are barking at our heels, while our best and brightest peer deeper and deeper into the very nature of reality. Science fiction should reflect that, even if, in the final equation, it is just grieving for the future we have lost."
Whoa.
And thus, here we are.
and here it is, comic books.
With that.
All right. So the first one that we're going to talk about is called The Giving Man. This one, it's 1, 2, 3, it's like 10, 5, maybe 8 panels.
And
it
came out of January 18th, 2025.
And it is essentially the story of a billionaire who has so much money and also cancer, and the cancer's moving faster than money he can throw at doctors to try and fix it. And so instead decides to invest in cryogenics and ultrasonic hibernation. And then essentially they take him to a black hole and lower him down into it, so that, let's see, I am lowered into the lips of this straining maw, time accelerating with my descent. 20 years? 50? I welcome it. So they use time dilation to try and have the world, around him, well, it is moving constant, but time's dilated, so for him it slows down to a crawl.
Yeah, so he can hopefully reach a cure while he's still alive, but
then what happens, Ben?
He gets, the stars go out.
Oops.
In a blink, the lab, the world is gone. The singularity evaporated. A miscalculation. He's not 100 years in the future, not 1,000, but 1 trillion years spent in a flash. And then he discovers what is left of all life at that point. Around me screaming, shadows falling toward me, some ancient descendants of life, spectral wraiths, drawn to the heat of my atoms. And in this desert universe, empty of matter, my arrival is a beacon, the flare of a newborn sun.
Tendrils of space-time curl iron fingers around me. My function slowed to a trickle. Even my cancer frozen in its tracks. So, like, yeah, this is a haunting story. I mean, Devin, give us your reaction. What did you think of this one?
No, I thought it was cool. The heat death of the universe is basically what he's talking about, right? And these are the only, whatever it is that's eating him alive at the end are whatever form of, it seems like a form of life, but it like he represents at that point the only matter left in the universe, right?
Yeah,
Right.
I didn't take it as that it was life. It was just in a place where entropy is completely taken over, and then you have this chunk of life comes back.
Well, because he calls it tendrils of space-time, so
yeah,
it's kind of cool. Whatever that would be, but just the idea that he's basically the last thing that exists in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And what I think it's fascinating is that can something that is hungry be a sign of it being alive?
No.
Possibly,
right?
I think the definition of life is there is a like accepted definition of life, but it's still like you can debate certain aspects of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hungry ghosts swarming through me, teasing out the fire of every atom so it might last an eternity. I have become their fountainhead, their world, their everything, and they take it all forever.
So did he get what he wanted? He wanted to live as long as possible. He's the last person to ever live.
He did it. Mission accomplished.
Yep.
So I looked up life, definition of life. The property or quality that distinguishes living organisms from dead organisms and inanimate matter manifested in functions such as metabolism, growth, reproduction, and response to stimuli or adaptation to the environment originating from the organism. I don't know if that doesn't sound like the scientific definition of life.
Well, that's kind of what I would have
metabolism,
expected.
growth,
I've heard that
reproduction
type of definition because they always say like you always try to find some way of disproving it. They always say like our virus is alive. That's kind of where the line starts to get drawn, and then there's the whole fire is alive because it meets all those criteria.
Yeah,
and of course it's not alive, but then there's more general, depending on how we're going to talk about or eventually define AI and what other alien type things we might find to be like, well, is that alive? Because it doesn't fit our exact definitions, but it does. There's some behavior that's undisputably makes it seem like it's alive. So,
well, I think the whole virus thing is always interesting because I think it meets the definition for life, but like they're not alive. Right? Like, because it's a biological process, got organization, metabolism, growth, adaptation. It does all of those things, response to stimuli, and they obviously reproduce. But like, there's no virus culture. There's no virus,
culture.
Yeah, as in like humanity's culture.
Okay, well
I don't mean like a culture in a petri dish. I mean like.
I'm trying to. Culture is not a requirement for life. I mean, intelligent life, perhaps, but I'm just talking about like the most basic definition of life.
Okay, fair enough.
Like, would a single cell organism, a microbe or something? I mean, obviously we would classify it as life, but or the organic molecules, like like we're talking about with Mars, like at what point do you call it life? Like say you have a string of organic molecules that can self-replicate, which is the precursor to life, but at what point is it life, or is it just a replicating molecule?
Yeah. Okay. Also, according to Wikipedia, life on Wikipedia, there's a section for
finds a way.
It finds a way. Yes. So there's a virus section. A virus has its own entry as well, but this section under life just says whether or not viruses should be considered as alive is controversial. They are most often considered as just gene-coding replicators rather than forms of life. They have been described as, quote, organisms at the edge of life because they possess genes, evolve by natural selection, and replicate by making multiple copies of themselves through self-assembly. However, viruses do not metabolize, and they require a host cell to make new products. Virus self-assembly within host cells has implications for the study of the origin of life, as it may support the hypothesis that life could have started as self-assembling organic molecules. Yeah, it's just one of those, it's life is messy. Like literally, life is messy. It's hard to pin this stuff down. So anyways, are tendrils of space-time alive? Maybe. Maybe we can get Musk to find out for us trillions of years from now. Go drop him in a black hole. All right, what's next?
So what I'd also like to note that if you do subscribe to his Patreon, The Giving Man does have an expanded version with extra panels.
Oh, where he comes back home and everyone cheers for him.
Yeah,
well, the tendrils of space-time say, "Hey, we're alive. By the way,
here's the definition of life."
Oh, that's
well. This is very similar to something that happens in a Stephen Baxter book. I forget which one. I think it's Manifold Time, because that's the one I think where the main character goes to like the far, far future, where it is like the heat death of the universe, and there is some type of life, which maybe is why I assumed that these tendrils were life, that is able to exist in the state of the heat death of the universe.
Was that in Time
so that
Ships?
part of it. What?
I want to say that was in Time Ships.
Yeah, I don't think I've read Manifold Time. I read Manifold Space, and there was nothing at the end.
Okay, so maybe it was Time Ships. That makes sense.
Yeah,
too.
but that was why, spoiler alert, why a new universe needed to be created.
Spoilers. All right, let's move on to the next one.
Ooh.
Scour.
Scour.
Oh
man,
this is fun. The rings of Saturn are not what we thought. They're made of bones.
What a way to start!
Like,
right?
When they talk about when you read a story, that first line has to hook you. This is what they're talking about. Like, it immediately makes you think of like, excuse me, sir, and the imagery associated with it is you see Saturn's rings in the background, but in the foreground is like a skull, some type of skull, and like bone chips and stuff.
Like a non-human skull.
Non-human
skull.
And essentially,
a human skull would have been cool too. It would have been a different story, but
yeah. So then they show astronauts going and discovering. Let's see. Much of what we examine is unrecognizable, smothered. They're smoothed down by epochs of microscopic bombardment. Nevertheless, what we can make sense of is a revelation: fossils, arrowheads, and bones from Earth. And so, like, at this point, I mean, this is 3 panels in, and already it's like the massive amount of story that's been told in these 3 panels, incredible. And then it goes down to billions of bones, yes, but all from this one animal. Paleontologists cannot identify it from our 3D scans, but they recognize its family, a nimravid, its closest relative extinct 33 million years ago. So, like, there's another little, like, bit of evidence that then makes the story go even crazier, right? Like, okay, so was there some civilization 33 million years ago that got to space? Like, what? And then they talk about it a little bit. Clues that speak to a society that rose as high as our own, its civilization unguessed at, unimagined, and then expunged. So then it goes to like, okay, did something kill them and put their bones here?
Yeah.
Not merely destroyed, but perfectly erased from the surface of the earth. The branching fossils of their evolution, their technology, their memory, swept up with an unimaginable precision and strewn here to form the most eye-catching sight in the solar system. So then where does the story go? Then what do we start thinking about?
This This is not merely extermination, it's a message, a warning. Your kin trespassed against us, it seems to say, and look how completely we erased them. Turn back now or meet their fate.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they're like, all right, we're out of here. It says for the past decade, our most distant space probes have been failing at Neptune, at Uranus, until only us, the furthest operating human presence, teeth closing around our solar system. Like, how horrifying that there is something coming for us and we find evidence that they've done it before and it appears just easily and flawlessly. We are no match, is what this story is saying. We are no match for what's out there.
And we dare to grope towards the edge of the solar system and wonder where they will scatter our bones.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Whew.
Scour.
Hello.
Yeah, that's another good
Scour,
one.
man.
Like,
So yeah, like when I proposed kind of diving back into Scott Bass's work, it was this one that I was like, well, hey, we could talk about this one for a little bit. And Stephen, you're like, this isn't enough. One comic. I was like, oh, okay.
well, I'd rather read more.
Sure.
So this was what, 8 panels or something. The amount of efficiency in this person's storytelling, their science fiction storytelling, is immense. And while there is imagery, and that's hard to get across on a podcast, the imagery is almost just like flavor for the text, because the typical way that these comics go is it is like a narrator is narrating the situation. There's no like firsthand account or anything in these two that we've read so far. Or I can't think of any of the other ones that I've read if there is any like first person anything. It's usually like a narrator. So if you think of it as okay.
The Hell and Back definitely has some dialogue in it, but
that is true.
Yeah. So
all right, well let's move right along to that one then.
Yeah. So anyhow, Scour, definitely check out Scour.
Yeah.
the artwork is incredible. The story's horrifying.
Speaking of horrifying, so the next one, Hell and Back. So this is a YouTube video. It's a little over 2 minutes long. It's on Scott Bass's YouTube, and again, there's going to be a link in the show notes. Check it out for 2 minutes. And it's a little animated short about landing on Venus.
I mean, I guess animated, that's an interesting way to put it. It has some actors in it, and it's a CGI plus. I mean, it's got a lot of special effects for 2.5 minutes.
I mean, I think the human face that's in it, that's the only real thing in this whole 2 minutes.
Probably.
Everything else looks like it's CG.
I mean, it's basically like a Disney live action movie that's just all CG anyway. The Lion King live action movie.
Yeah.
So the basic idea, this storyline is that in the rush to plant a flag on Venus, whoever puts a flag on Venus is not going to survive it. There is no surviving Venus.
Yeah.
And so
nobody.
Nobody survives Venus. That's right.
So
and
okay, so the thing opens up with like something crash landing on Venus. You can hear like radio chatter and stuff, and you get this big like metal suit that looks like it just crashed down. And it's like an old like diving suit. It looks like almost. And there's a lady inside of it, plants the flag, and immediately all the sensors in the suit are like going off, like a breach imminent, or whatever it says. And and then a timer starts, and it severs her neck and cryogenically freezes her head in an instant, and then a balloon inflates out and starts to lift the head up into the atmosphere. What?
Yeah. Well, I mean, she asks her crewmate, like, why did I do this again? And they're like, so you can get a brand new body, one that is, uh, that you won't even, you'll barely remember this body, you know.
Yeah.
And what faith she has in the system, in the capitalist society, that she will actually get a new body.
Oh man, nobody survives Venus.
I think, I mean, we don't know enough about the rest of the world. Just the fact that they do freeze her head makes me think there might actually be a new body waiting for her.
Yeah. Otherwise, why not
if you're
just?
not going to actually give the person a new body, then why were you going to preserve their head?
Yeah, they would just decapitate him and be like, "Oh, oops, nobody." That's it. That's the end. This talks the science fiction directly points to, I think, more like the one-way space travel trope, where like there's no going back, and like that's kind of like what this person is doing, because they don't know after their head's been severed and cryogenically frozen if they are really coming back. You just kind of have to. They said they would, so this is kind of like that whole like one-way trip deal for science, except it wasn't really for science, because they were just planting like a digital flag. What did the flag say on it? It said something on it. Claim VNX1 registered. So they just like claimed an area. It wasn't even like a sample or anything. It was just claim this. All right.
It wasn't scientific. It was just
manifest destiny.
Yeah, we got here first is all that was. I don't know if that's worth it.
It depends on the body you're going to get.
I mean, if that body's a banger, then I mean, maybe it is worth it. Oh man, I got this old fat body. Let's go to Venus so I can get a new one.
It just goes to show you, people will do anything to get ahead.
Oh, stop it.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Well, it's like Old Man's War, the John Scalzi book. A lot of the people who signed up to be those soldiers were people who were elderly on Earth, and so it's like, might as well do it and get a new body.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I wondered what stopped in this 2-minute story where we're making up most of the world building in our head. Why not just launch the flag down from space? Why does a person have to put it in?
I mean, maybe there's some legal issue where it's like, if you want to claim territory on a planet, there has to be a human presence. Otherwise, everybody would just fire all these flagpoles across the solar system and claim everything instantly. So it's like, if you're serious about it, there has to be a human presence to say, I'm here, I claim this for, whoever you're claiming it for.
Okay. That seems kind of like a jerk move, though. If you really want this chunk of land on Venus, you have to sacrifice a human life so that we know you're really serious about it. I don't know. Well,
we're going to think of an analogy, because it doesn't sound that crazy to me. Like, it sounds crazy, of course, it's inhuman, but like the idea of requiring a human presence, for some reason in my head, I'm like, that's not too crazy. But I'm trying to think of an analogy that would justify it, but I can't think of one.
Well, but
it's basically just that you can have technology do anything. You can have, like we were saying, you can have an AI write every piece of music that can ever exist, but a human didn't write it. So are we going to be that interested in listening to it?
Right.
If
robots can go out and colonize, that's cool for robots, but what does that mean for humanity?
Yeah.
You got to put a human out there to make it real, I guess.
But just to have it be like a formality like that, then it kind of takes away that idea, because then it's just like, well, you're not doing it because you want to have a human presence. You're not going to have a human presence. The human's going to die. So at least their body is.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really. It's almost like you're saying, like, a end stage capitalism sort of thing. It's like, well, because of this stupid legal rule, we have to have a human go through this experience to fulfill the law, even though really why are we claiming a piece of land on a hellish planet when we could just, whatever the point of this is, whether it's to claim it for then later resource production, we can do that for the good of humanity without having to sacrifice someone's body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whatever the case may be.
Yeah. It's wild, man. I don't know if we're ever going to live long enough to really see a space land rush, a space rush.
For asteroids, perhaps, but
Maybe
not for planets.
I mean, if we keep on the current path of humanity, we're not getting anywhere. we're stuck in the mud. We can't get our feet out of the muck.
I mean,
but
it's
technologically speaking,
it's only going to be through manifest destiny that happens, right? Like if we go the way that we're seeing everything going,
can't trust the billionaires to do it because they won't. They'll just do it for themselves.
They'll do it for themselves.
Yep. And then we go back to N.K. Jemisin and the racist without skin. That whole story happens. Right. That's our real future. Ugh, horrifying. All right. Mm-hmm. I think that's going to be a wrap, boys. Next, what are we doing next week? We didn't even cover that.
We're gonna be reading Johnny Mnemonic by William Gibson.
And that's part of Burning Chrome. So if you figured out where to get that, or you have the collection of short stories, Burning Chrome, Johnny Mnemonic is in there. So you may already have it.
Cool.
And we've got a link for someone reading it on YouTube, so you can listen to it that way if you're like Devin, just lazy.
Wouldn't it be nice if you were like Devin? If everyone was just more like Devin, I think the world would be all right.
It would be a lot more like serious and metal, but like that would be an improvement as far as I'm concerned.
And chill, man. Like, yeah,
chill. I don't know about chill. Devin, how chill are you?
I think I'm pretty chill.
Yeah,
Devin's cool as a cucumber.
That's not someone who's chill wouldn't say it that way. So
in the ways that matter, I mean, like when it comes to, I'm kind of curious, Stephen, what you think, why you wouldn't think I'd be chill, or a society based on my personality would be chill. Because I just feel like when it comes to like serious things, like you always say I'm so serious, and I think that's based on like how I speak and maybe what I talk about. But when it comes to serious things, I'm just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, you're pretty nihilistic.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't matter. So why are we killing ourselves over it? Just chill.
Yeah, just chill, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, are those your final thoughts, Devin? Just be chill. Excellent. Be excellent to each other.
Yes. For sure.
Ben, do you have any final words for us?
I'm selling my prosthetic arm. If you want to buy it, just know it's secondhand.
Good night, everybody.
This has been the Science Faction Podcast. Tweet to the host at SciFact Podcast. Email them at sciencefactionpodcast@gmail.com and visit sciencefactionpodcast.com for more episodes.